To be unmuted is to be honest, authentic, and unapologetic with your words.
Unmuted means opening up even if you feel like no one's listening.
Being able to express yourself no matter what.
To be unmuted means to be completely and truly yourself, speaking your mind and not holding anything back.
Unmuted means being unrestrained emotionally and politically.
Means waking up on a rainy day, yet still whispering poetry into the wind.
Unmuting means turning on our microphones and cranking up the volume to make sure that we are heard all over, because the time has long since passed where we sit around and wait for change to come find us.
Hello, everybody. Making sure that I'm off of mute. We good? All right. Welcome, everyone, to the kickoff episode of Girls Right Now Live Unmuted. I'm Courtney, a Girls Right Now mentor. It's been a strange year for social connections and collaborating on video calls and meetings. We've all had to figure out new ways of interacting and choosing to speak up when you have something to say. The Girls Right Now theme this year couldn't be more apt. Taking yourself off mute to claim your moment in the Zoom spotlight, unmuted.
And I'm Dominique, a mentee. To me, unmuted means being able to express myself and my opinions about the world without holding back or feeling societal pressure to perform in a certain way. I think that too often, in an effort to be more palatable to others, we censor ourselves, which is why being unmuted in a space like Girls Right Now is so important. Courtney and I will be your MCs for a night of turning up the volume on boundary-pushing performances that will deepen your understanding of the world and yourself.
Girls Right Now is the first writing and mentoring organization for girls and gender-expansive teens in New York City. We've been a nationally respected leader in arts education for more than 23 years. Dominique and I have been a partnership for the last 2 years. And even though a majority of that time was during a global pandemic and it was a little weird, it's been such an amazing chance to develop a new relationship with a really fantastic budding young writer and brilliantly smart young woman, and watch her finish off her high school career, even though it's on Zoom.
Yes. We always kick off our spring performance series during Women's History Month, where we share our multimedia, multi-genre work and honor women authors and media makers who inspire us and help amplify the voices of the next generation of writers and activists. Tonight, we're thrilled to have Georgina Lawton, author of Raceless, In Search of Family, Identity, and the Truth About Where I Belong, and host of Audible's The Secrets in Us program, joining us as our Agent of Change honoree.
Even though everything here in New York has been essentially shut down for the past year, Girls Right Now didn't miss a beat. We transformed our programming to virtual, we enriched our curriculum with a focus on wellness and racial justice, and expanded our audience globally to reach more than 75,000 people. We couldn't have done any of it without our generous Agent of Change partners, our Girls Right Now Circle, our dedicated board of directors, our phenomenal staff, and all of you, our community and supporters. In Dominique's own words, it's been distant and the internet's been crappy, but in the midst of all the freeze frames and physical distance between us, our check-ins and workshops have been, and being able to share creative work has been such a fun, energizing ritual, weekly, monthly, as many times as we can check in a time when rituals were intensely needed. And again, in Dominique's words, who says you can't have dance parties over Zoom?
I completely agree. We've had major connectivity issues this year, but despite needing to cross cyberspace to meet, it's been a great experience getting to connect with even more mentees through workshops and, of course, being able to talk to Courtney. She gives some pretty good recipe advice. All of the performers you'll see tonight have worked so hard with their mentors, meeting virtually each week to put together truly incredible work.
Their stories span genres and mediums, from podcasting to poetry and journalism, and delve into topics like family, activism, and mental health. And we highly encourage you to get loud in the chat during the show. Shout out your comments. Tell everyone how awesome they are.
Also, if you have any burning questions for the mentee and mentor performers about their art, about writing, or about Girls Right Now, you can submit them during the show via the Q&A feature at the bottom of the Zoom screen, and we'll end the evening with a live performer talkback.
All right, let's get to it. Presenting Girls Right Now Live Unmuted.
Hello
Hello, I am Barbara Niveiro. I am Maria Osorio's mentor. We started working together last fall. We created a podcast about arts and justice named Truth Riders. And right now we're working on an essay about Maria's experience moving from Colombia to New York. I hope you enjoy her presentation, and I hope you can notice how sweet and smart Maria is.
Charity Seagulls is a small poem about making every second of your life worthy. The idea of this poem came after spending multiple weeks learning about Latin American poets like Pedro Lemebel and Paula Lebramo. Charity Seagulls. Until completing the cycle of my existence, I will not give up my dreams. I will live my life like there was no tomorrow. I will try new things. I will leave a legacy. I will jump from a plane and fly like an eagle. I will touch the clouds in the sky and feel the freedom. I will travel across the world and meet new people. Definitely try to find love, if that doesn't even exist. Find someone to share the good and the bad. Someone to share a soul with. Until completing the cycle of my existence, I will see the beauty around me. On a normal day, I will look at the sky, listen to the sound of the sea, the waves hitting the rocks, chatty seagulls flying through the sky. I won't complain about how cold or hot the days are. I will take them as a gift from Mother Earth. She's waiting for me to go back to her when my existence is complete. Listen to the beat of my heart. Boom, 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 boom.
Hi, my name is Jaleesa. I have the pleasure of introducing you to my mentee, Jada. Virtual was our reality this year, but that did not hinder Jada from exploring the world's outdoors. She takes snippets from her corner of the universe as well as sounds from the city to create pieces that are relatable to her generation and the worlds beyond.
Hi, my name is Jada Dent, and the piece that I'm sharing with you guys is called Snow Days. Snow Days is a romantic story about a CEO named Ryder and a girl named Skylar who he hired to babysit his daughter, and they get trapped together in his apartment during a snowstorm. Will they fall in love? Will they not? I wrote this story as if it were the first chapter of a full novel, so the excerpt that you guys are going to hear is depicting Ryder and Skylar's perspectives on their first day of meeting each other. So, enjoy!
On Skylar's first day, she decided she would arrive early. Being punctual was something she was always good at. She always had this constant fear of making people wait on her, so she did her best to always abide by a schedule. As she was traveling, she finally had a chance to think about what she was stepping into. She actually had known nothing much about the company he worked for, other than it mainly surrounded finance. She also wasn't focused on appearance. She could care less if he was an older, less attractive man. Money was money, and it was just babysitting. However, when her brown eyes met with his hazel ones, she was slightly taken aback, not only by his looks, but his talent. A man his age looks to be in his early 30s, meaning he had his daughter in mid to late 20s, and he was still able to build a company. Impressive in her book. On Skylar's first day, she was early, which made things easy for Ryder because he was able to get out the door quicker. Money waits for no one, a common mantra he always had. The plus side to being early on her first day was being shown an extra layer of kindness from her new boss. Ryder wasn't unfamiliar with having people being late. Because of how punctual he was, he often wondered if everyone was just on time when he was early. He liked to make sure he was always running on schedule, yet it was difficult when you have a 7-year-old daughter. He always thought that she took after her mother. The same brown, curly hair, doe eyes, and rounded nose. Ryder couldn't help but see his former lover when he looked at Bria's face. Unfortunately, the girl's mother was never able to see it herself as she passed away giving birth to her daughter. A part of Ryder has never recovered from that, and he always wondered if he would ever find a woman suitable, not only for him, but his daughter as well.
Hi everyone, my name is Hannah Kozlowska. I'm a journalist, and I'm here to introduce my wonderful mentee, Rizwana Promi. 30 seconds is definitely not enough for me to tell you all about our great relationship, even though Rizzy's on Team Logan and I'm on Team Jess. And if you know, you know. Rizzy's a very talented artist and poet, and today she'll be reading for us her piece, Unknown Identity, which is my favorite poem of hers, and I'm confident you'll be able to see why.
Thank you so much for the introduction, Hannah. From recommending Gilmore Girls to lending me books, I appreciate every little thing you do for me. That includes your advocacy for this poem, Unknown Identity. Last year, when I wrote this poem, I did not think much of it, but hearing you talk about it made me fall in love with this poem. So here it is, Unknown Identity. I hope you enjoy it. What kind of person are you? A question I encounter as if it is rain during the rainy season, too often to be avoided. Sometimes I'm a bear, destined to be a loner, avoiding crowds, addicted to my own company. Sometimes I'm an ant, surrounded by creatures with the same goal, motivated to move forward. Sometimes I'm an angry lion, quick to make a move, out hunting for opportunities. Sometimes I'm a sloth, unbothered and careless, known for my slow speed. Sometimes I'm a cat, calm and friendly, known for comforting people. Sometimes I'm a T-Rex, heartless and selfish, hurting other organisms to fulfill my needs, unconcerned about their feelings. Who am I? Avoiding this question, I'm rather invested in which side of me is more acceptable, wanting to be liked by others, always wondering which side of me is more approachable, more desirable.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Grace Denise Ali. I am the proud mentor for Emanuela Ajamang, my brilliant Girls Right Now mentee. Emanuela, you wrote, your parents are from Ghana, and you wrote this very important, serious story about an experience that happens to many young girls in Africa. Can you tell us about the story?
My story is about a young female child soldier struggling with the loss of girlhood. A lot of my inspiration came from the film Beast of No Nations and the book A Long Way Gone by Ishmael Bia.
And I know that you did a lot of research before you actually started writing. You did a lot of research about this experience and this issue. And why was the research process so important to you?
Well, when writing a story, especially inspired by true events, I wanted to capture these stories as authentically as possible.
Wonderful. And so now we'll hear you read an excerpt of Deadly Militia.
A vivid memory of my life is when I was initiated into Milice Mortelle, Deadly Militia. During my initiation, white powder was dusted onto my face, neck, and shoulders by the hands of a voodoo priest. The white powder by the same voodoo priest is applied before any combat. In doing so, I am protected by my ancestors, and any spirit of death will keep away. I am invincible on the outside, but then again, I never signed up to be a child soldier. I never wanted to be invincible. A young and innocent girl is in here somewhere. I have realized that no one is coming to rescue me. I will never get married, never have children, finish school, or even touch the cheekbones of my mother and hear her say, I am glad I have a beautiful daughter like you. My thoughts are soon interrupted by command and stern voice. Get up, we need to look for more food and ammunition. As I march behind commandant, my gun now behind my back, A woman appears from behind a bush, 4 feet away from us. Her face is flushed with fear, and her colorful wrapper is stained in red. Bandit notices and steps towards her. Hey, what are you doing here? His brown eyes examine her like a piece of raw meat. He's ready to pounce on her. My arm automatically blocks Bandit from the woman. Her eyes lower to me. His eyes lower to me as he rolls them in annoyance. The woman's legs began to shake as she stepped back. She was getting ready to run. Then she stopped abruptly and stood strangely still, eyeing me. Marielle, she spoke softly. My girl, she said with tears running down her face. My eyes raised to meet hers. Mother? Thank you.
Hey everybody, I'm Robin Messing and my mentee is Emma Kushnersky. I don't know how Girls Right Now figured it out, but Emma and I are so well matched. We have several intersecting identities and interests, from our immigrant Eastern European Jewish roots to our love of poetry. Meeting with Emma has been a privilege, a delight, and an inspiration. I'm inspired by Emma's thoughtfulness, her deep engagement with our work, and her brilliant gifts. What a joy in the midst of this pandemic isolation to read poetry and write together.
After reading the poetic correspondence between Natalie Diaz and Ada Limon entitled Envelopes of Air, we decided to write poetic letters to one another that naturally interrogated our feelings and thoughts during a pandemic. This project consists of 6 poems total, and we'll now be reading selected excerpts from each of them.
Pandemic letters, the wind or a leaf stuck to the sidewalk, masking and unmasking. Sometimes I wish there were words for everything. Dread isn't exactly right. Pleasure isn't sufficient.
Hiding in plain sight like the wind or a leaf stuck to the sidewalk. I don't know if I'm lonely. Like this past summer, I was scrambling for words and I felt inadequate in my longing, but there was youth. And the island I'm on blows salt towards me, through me, asking me to inhale. To inhale something that hides is an action of loving.
In the wake of immobility, inaction terrifies me, sloth and enslavement, a knot in a tree's heart. Each twisted part craves embrace, each shame like your salt wind meant for movement.
Me in the context of who I was and have been being. I want to feel moving so fast that motion is vibration. Why be calloused for wood floors? I seldom laugh by myself. If you can make yourself laugh, you're lucky. There's a song called The Waiting. I am the waiting.
In which I try to answer when there are no answers. Terror, the friend that never exits, drawn to gloom as if to flame. I see that hiding can be useful, wintering birds, the same shade as bark.
Distortion of reality comes easily like a wave or exhale. Once I was trapped in a bathroom. Before I yelled out, I closed my eyes and moved myself through the door. I think that we are never broken. I'm going to be the cardinal in the snow, if I can bear it. Thank you so much for listening.
Thanks, everyone.
Hi, my name is Liz Mancini.
My friends call me Kai, short for Kaya.
Since Kai and I met, we've been writing scary stories and just exploring all different kinds of cool worlds.
Things. Meeting Liz was nerve-wracking, but after starting sharing a creative nonfiction story, we realized we had something unique in common and just clicked. Since then, meeting each other has been the highlight of our weeks. And we always interrupt each other! After realizing we both like writing, Liz and I decided it would be a cool idea to give each other rules about our writing and swap them. Liz took on realistic fiction, and I wrote this very scary story. I picked up a cornflower blue crayon and that was scattered among the others and rolled it around in their fingers. An idea hit. They began to write on the only wide empty space. Ash paused. Out of the corner of their eye, something changed. Such a pity. Holy fish sticks! My words, they flips. They sat down across from the wall, crisscrossed. Ash looked out their window once again, glancing at the other dark window. Loneliness is imprisoning, like a bird in a cage. Nobody wants to be my friend for me being me. Ash waited a moment. I'll be your friend. I'm a hungry man. What do you have to offer? My chicken beef. Very funny. Who do you truly want out of your life? My uncle. Uncle Samuel started drinking alcohol as a means to cope with his sister's death, which left space for abuse. Ash just wanted to be free. Very good. A shiver ran down Ash's spine. Who are you? They call me the Glove Man. Then, just as that phrase appeared, under it, a creepy Cheshire smile came into existence. Below, blood-red, fingerless gloves slowly drew themselves out. Inside, sharp teeth glistened like stars. One phrase appeared under the last one. And I'm watching you. I stared in the wall with pure horror. The cornflower blue crayon had long rolled away somewhere, leaving them exposed and unsafe. I swore their room just got cold and misty. Somewhere below, a bang followed by a yelp and a crunch echoed.
I'm Kara, and I am so pleased to introduce my talented mentee, Lauren, today. We've been a pair for the past 3 years, and throughout our time together, her vibrant creative storytelling has inspired me endlessly. Today, she'll be sharing a powerful and personal reflection on struggling with creativity during the pandemic. From identifying and confronting her own creative rut to the persistent efforts she made to climb out of it. Blending language, photography, and collage, it's an honest narrative journey that I think any writer or creative can relate to. And I'm so excited for her to share it with the Girls Right Now community today.
Kara, thank you so much for those kind words. I am so grateful for everything you've given me over the past 3 years. I truly am so grateful for your creativity, your honesty, and your kindness. The piece I'll be reading today, I'm sorry I didn't do it right, is a visual art essay, a capsule documenting time since the pandemic upended life. I used Photoshop and physical collage tools to compile my limited creative bursts into one narrative about grappling with artistic expression and the struggle of needing to prove oneself. Thank you so much, Girls Right Now, and thank you, Kara.
I'll be reading a series of journal entries and introductions for my piece, I'm sorry I didn't do it right. Spring. March 1st, 2020. Eating a grapefruit. God, I love grapefruit. I don't know what aspect of a grapefruit is so satisfying because I can't eat it cleanly. My teeth puncture the fruit and the juice splashes into my eye. I always dust white sugar on the top to counteract the sour, but the bitter stays on my tongue until the end of the day. April 25th. I sit at a laptop for 7 hours a day and look at things I can't afford while teachers talk about concepts I cannot grasp. Summer. August 8th. I'm currently reading Gone Girl. Autumn. November 19th, I'm drowning in passwords I can't remember. I feel like I have 5 I tend to go to, but for some reason, none of them are working. I'm going to distract myself. Normally, I can remember things better when I distract myself. Winter. Winter is always the most challenging season for me, but especially now during the most bizarre and testing time of my life. I stay inside more than I do in other months. I spend my mornings in front of a lamp that imitates sunlight so I can start my day bouncing on caffeine, emanating an artificial glow. January 1st, 2021, New Year, still reading Gone Girl. January 23rd, I want to write like a watercolor painting. I want to float across the page in bright yellows and tantalizing oranges, unblocked and released.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Brown, and I am a writer and educator living in New York City. I am thrilled to introduce my mentee, Alex Berman. Working with Alex this year has been incredible. We clicked immediately. We spent our first session running to our bookshelves and finding a copy of the book the other one had just mentioned. Alex comes to our sessions brimming with ideas. I've been so impressed by the range of Alex's pieces, from deeply heartfelt to irreverent and wickedly funny.
The Bus Stop. A short story about 2 girls sitting at a bus stop, each wondering if the other feels the same way she does, wondering if she could be brave enough to find out. She is unsure, and so is she, and they are unsure together, sitting on a bench, waiting for the bus that will whisk her away. She's waiting with her friend. When the bus comes, she will keep walking home. She can feel her friend's heat in the winter cold, and she dares to be hopeful. Their hands sit side by side on cool metal slats, pinkies close but never touching. She imagines her skin would be soft to the touch if she took her hand and held it. She imagines it would feel like holding a mug of tea if that mug were soft and fleshy and attached to a girl that she knew. But it sits there on the bench, untouched by her, and she dares to think it might like to be held. They are talking, always talking, but neither knows what they are saying. Something about school or parents or basketball practice. Their minds are on their shoulders, hovering within reach of each other's weary heads. Each is covered in flannel and down and wool, soft armor against an early snow. Each holds tension in the way one holds a priceless Fabergé egg, if this egg were not an egg at all, but in fact a friendship. She dearly wishes to let her head fall onto the nest made of scarf and coat and backpack strap. She imagines it would be exquisite, warming her neck with her soft hair, listening to her steady pulse. As her friend looks away, she stares and dares to dream the pulse wants to be listened to. She's afraid, and she's afraid, but neither knows it. So she sits there, unaware of her fear, oblivious to her feelings. She sits there and thinks about herself in conjunction with her, thinks about us and we and other things she cannot comprehend. She wishes to say her name in a proud way, in a soft way. She wishes to treasure her name on her tongue like a cradle holds a sleeping baby, and she dares to believe that she wants to be treasured by her. The bus rolls up, and they say goodbye. They hug, each trying to keep her body as far away from the other as possible. Their shoulders are tense, their hands are cold, their cheeks do not touch. She climbs on the bus, and she begins to walk away, and she sits on the frigid plastic seat and wishes it were warm.
Hi, I'm Kendall Curley, and my mentee is Alice Rosenberg. The poem that you're about to hear, Ophelia, is the first piece I read from Alice, and it amazed me right away with this chilling imagery and evocative language, and Scholastic actually gave her a gold key honor for it. Alice is so talented. She knows so much about literature, art, and theater, and I'm just so glad to be a small part of her success tonight.
I got the idea to write a poem about Shakespeare's Ophelia when I found a printout of one of the paintings in my desk. And I had been in a production of Hamlet when I was younger, so I felt connected to the characters, but I didn't love what I was writing, so I abandoned it. Then later that month, when I was working on my Scholastic submissions, I came back to a first draft of the poem, and with the help of my mentor Kendall, turned it into the piece you're about to hear, and the piece it is today. Ophelia. My brain is so loud. It is an earth-shattering, mind-encompassing cacophony of heartbreak where the screams and sobs and voices never stop, and I just want this orchestra of insanity to be over, so I choose the pond. by the tree that makes shadows on the ground in the shape of leaves. When I lie in the water, the branches form cracks in the sky that block out the sun. The moss on the rocks are pillows where I can rest my head, and the forget-me-nots that litter the shore grow towards the light. They remind me of our childhood, our bare feet on the cold stone floor, the keyhole windows that used to be so far out of reach, our love a masterpiece, sealed by acrylics and paintbrushes. I could even see the pond from your bed at night when the moon was high and the fireflies shone brighter than the stars. Sometimes, if I listened hard enough, I could hear the water ripple when a leaf fell. And then there were ghosts, and your promises and love poems were as fleeting as the dead you chased. I can't believe I ever trusted you till death do us part. The water fills my lungs, my breath is stolen, my clothes billow around my outstretched arms, they weigh me down. I open my eyes as the shadows obscure the sun, and the cold is streaming through my veins, and I just want to see you again, and it's taking so long, but then I realize it's so very quiet when you're dead.
Wow, those were some very powerful but very well written pieces. They really covered a broad range of very difficult to understand, but difficult to understand but very interesting topics. Let's have a virtual round of applause in the chat for this amazing work. And don't forget, you can ask questions using the Q&A feature for our live talkback after the show.
I loved all of those pieces. My gosh, what talent is on display tonight. And so fascinating to see all so many different topics and emotions and characters and stories being told. Just fantastic. Well done, everybody. Now, please give a warm digital welcome to tonight's Agent of Change, Georgina Lawton. Georgina is a 20-something journalist, author of Raceless, In Search of Family, Identity, and the Truth About Where I Belong, and host of Audible's The Secrets in Us program. A former Guardian weekend columnist, she regularly contributes to the paper and to a number of other publications such as The Independent, iPaper, Stylist, Galdem, Travel and Leisure, Vice, Time Out London, and more. And be sure to look out for Black Girls Take the World, a travel guide for curious Black women, coming in June 2021.
In line with our theme, we have just one question. How do you unmute yourself in your work and your life?
Hi, my name is Georgina Lawton and I am the author of Raceless, and I wanted to talk to you a little bit today about the word unmuted. What does it mean to be unmuted in your personal life and in your work life? Well, for me, my book is a memoir and it's all about family secrets. It's all about me trying to find out more about my heritage, my Blackness. And in order to do that, of course, I had to force my family to unmute themselves and have really difficult conversations about things that we've kept secret for so long. So the word unmuted means to be free of restraint when it comes to expressing yourself. And I've always really found that quite easy to do, except for this one secret that was at the heart of my life about, my heritage, about who I was. So in order to dismantle that secret, I had to first force my family to unmute themselves in order for me to become fully unmuted. And that's what the book is about. So for me, that word is really, really relevant, not just to my writing, but to everything that I've been through in order to get to the point in which Raceless was published. Unmuting myself was really, really key. And I guess for other people that find it difficult to express themselves, or other people that have had secrets or silence at the heart of their lives, I would just say, trust in your convictions. If you feel like something's not right, if you feel like you need to speak up, really, really listen to that, that sensation in your gut or that little voice at the back of your head, and go forward and start having these conversations if you need to. It can be scary to speak up sometimes. It can be really, really difficult. But I think taking things one step at a time, maybe speaking to other people who think like you, or looking for other people who behave like you, or who, produce work that you look up to, building a little community of like-minded people is really, really key. So for me, when I started writing about race and identity online, I immediately reached out to lots of other female writers that I look up to, and they helped me to become unmuted as well. So that is something that I would advise you if you find it hard to assert yourself in certain situations. I hope that was helpful, and I'm really looking forward to the rest of the event.
Thank you, Georgina. I love the idea of, obviously speaking up when you feel there's something important to say. It's always important, especially this year. And especially about finding a community of people who can help you do that. I think that's especially apt for where we are right now.
Right. I mean, finding a community is extremely important. We've been so isolated in quarantine that being able to talk to other people, bounce ideas off other people, and just kind of like use your community to help build you up is really important. And I think that has been especially instrumental in Girls Right Now, at least in my writing, being able to have a community where I can go to different people and learn about different types of writing, learn about different opportunities that I can use to kind of like expand my writing, and also listening to other people's ideas and kind of changing how I write and what I think about. It has been very eye-opening, very important, which plays into how I think Girls Right Now has helped me unmute myself this year, being able to go to workshops and interact with other people and kind of like just explore my writing in more ways, and also just being able to like put my writing out there more through like the different opportunities that I've been exposed to has been very, very useful.
Yeah, it's been so fun to watch you try out a ton of different projects and forms, and it seems like you're constantly applying to new, oh yeah, I'm submitting a play this weekend. All right, sure, yes, you're gonna take it, just casually taking over the world. So it's been a real pleasure to be part of the larger Girls Right Now community, and also community with Dom, and having, conversations that range from serious to very, very silly. That's been a really important part of this year for me. So if you too want to participate, enrollment will be opening soon. You can make sure to check out girlsrightnow.org/enroll to get more information about joining as a mentee or as a mentor. Or you can support our programming at girlsrightnow.org/give.
Now we've got lots more incredible work for you tonight, but first, how about a dance break?
Always a dance break.
Always a dance break.
You guys better have been dancing along too. And don't forget to get loud in the comments.
My name is Emily Newberger, and I'm thrilled to introduce my amazing mentee, Mai Listikin. I've been so lucky to get to know Mai these past 2 years and to witness her beautiful writing and watch as she prepares to move on from high school and go out into the world. Mai is such a sensitive and intelligent young person, and Zooming with her every Tuesday during the pandemic was a bright spot in a very difficult year. She's such a gifted observer, which you can clearly see in her piece of Pyrite and Men, which she will perform for you now. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Mai, and as New Yorkers, I'm sure you all witness peculiar and humorous encounters. This is my experience. I titled it, Of Pyrite and Men. Mr. Watson seldom had company. Equipped with his calculator, the eager salesman was frowning in deep concentration. As I walked into the gem shop, he was escorting around the shelves a strange tall fellow dressed in the finest green plaid suit and a pair of round spectacles. The customer entertained a thin mustache and a genuine curiosity on his pale face, reminding me of a character from an 18th century British series. My dear shopkeeper, Mr. Watson, approached him as Mr. McAllister when he suggested yet another fossilized lizard. Now, Mr. Watson and I are not strangers. I can honestly attest that he is the most devoted geologist whom I often chat with on my way home from work. We sometimes discuss the formidable display of rare crystals from Madagascar, meteorites, and prehistoric fossils. The high price ticket might be the reason this lovely shop is usually quiet, but today the commotion inside drew me in. But Mr. McAllister announced, I'm afraid I am looking for something much more dramatic, as it is a personal gift for a dear friend, he declared out loud. I fancy something shinier that will summon a gasp. Behold, he ordered in a deep voice, Show me the golden rock in your very left palm. I believe we have detected a contender. I held my breath. Mr. Watson opened his palm to reveal a large rock in shiny golden hue. As I stood stunned, he inquisitively removed his spectacles. What do you think this stone is composed of? He asked in a tone lacking any acceptance of failure. The stone glimmered, but not as bright as true gold. I think it might be pyrite, I offered in a hesitant voice. Mr. McAllister's eyebrows lifted momentarily in an arch of disbelief. Mr. Watson's anxious voice filled the silent abyss. We teach them well, sir, he shrugged. But what do you believe it is coated with? Mr. McAllister pressed. This time I didn't reply as swiftly. Gold, I began, but he finished the thought for me. That's right, solid 24-karat gold, and I will be gifting it this very afternoon. What a very lucky recipient, I responded vaguely. I shall deliver this brilliant gift to my best friend Pete, he exclaimed resolutely. Pete? I waited for some description. My dear friend Pete lives in Central Park, not far from Belvedere Castle, in fact, Mr. McAllister explained. He is dressed in rags and resides on the third bench from the hot dog stand, he continued. I nervously eyed the price tag on the box and swallowed at the figure. $2,000 for a rock? Before I could think twice, Mr. McAllister was at the front desk, signing paperwork with Mr. Watson, who was enthusiastically sealing the deal. The cash register opened with an unfamiliar ding. Mr. McAllister buttoned his plaid jacket and strided purposefully out the door.
Hey everyone, nice to meet you. I'm Kaylee. I'm introducing my mentee, Victory. We had a great year together. She's such a talented writer, and we spent a lot of the beginning part of the year working on her really, really powerful scholastic portfolio. And then once that was done, we pivoted over into working on our podcast, which was a new experience for us both. But I'll let Victory tell you all a little bit more about that.
Hey, and our podcast was called Books and Baked Goods, which was basically our way of incorporating reading and trying some of our favorite foods. So the book we talked about was Beloved by Toni Morrison, which is about slavery, womanhood, and trying to, find your way in the world as a Black woman who is a single mother and a family. And we talked a lot about, the community and different topics pertaining to that. And it was a pretty fun time. We hope that you enjoy.
What's up, everybody? My name is Victory. I'm 17 years old, and I'm from Queens, New York.
And I'm Kaylee, her co-host. I'm 25 years old from Brooklyn, New York. What are we going to talk about today, Victory?
Today we're going to be talking about Beloved by Toni Morrison, its themes, and what we thought about it.
There's going to be another fun component. We're not just talking about Beloved.
We are also talking and highlighting a Black-owned bakery.
Books and baking is our theme here. So we're starting with Beloved, and we are sampling from Brooklyn Sweet Spot, that awesome bakery. Victory found that. Very exciting. So getting right into it with Beloved, how did the book come into your life?
I've heard about this book before, and I was really interested in it because here's a Black book by a Black author, so I thought, hey, this might be a perfect fit for me. I got it as a birthday gift last year. My birthday's in May, so this was kind of pretty much, I would say, beginning of the pandemic. I, at that time, was kind of just like, I was still pretty, confused, I would say, and getting used to the whole routine of being home and just staying in my room all the time because of self-quarantine. So a friend actually got this book for me, and I was excited to read it. And I was really not expecting some of the parts in it. That's not to say that the book was bad. I was just like, this book deals with a lot of heavy themes, and I was really surprised by a lot of it. But it's really good. I don't want to say I was happy reading the book because the book talks about a lot of heavy stuff. But it's very exciting, very enlightening, and it talks a lot about generational trauma and pain and how to deal with that. And it talks about, family, specifically mothers and their relationship with their children. I think a lot what you can take away from this book is that family means everything, really. And it doesn't matter whether your family is biological or non-biological, whichever family you make, whether it's a found family.
It's such an interesting point you make, because you say that, whatever family you make, in Beloved, Sethe's family is really mixed between her biological at the beginning of the book, but then by the end of the book, I would almost say that her family is just sort of more random characters that she's just pieced together, with Paul D and with Beloved. A lot of her family, her biological family, unfortunately, has either left her or died by that point.
Yeah, it's definitely tough to see what Sethe goes through in the book, because she does go through a lot, and I think readers can definitely sympathize with her.
Hi, I'm Abby, and I'm here to introduce my mentee, Grace. Grace is a curious, smart, and friendly 11th grader. She has a great sense of humor, and I really enjoyed getting to know her over the past year. It's been so exciting to see Grace conduct interviews for this piece and work on summer essays for programs. Grace is interested in the sciences, especially chemistry, and wants to learn more about that field. I'm so excited for her to present this piece and to see all her interests evolve in the coming years. Here's Grace.
Hi, my name is Grace, and today I will be sharing an excerpt of an article my mentor and I wrote called COVID Rewind: Thoughts and Reflections. This article is a look into 2020 through the diverse eyes of interviewees from around New York City who share their experiences living through the COVID-19 pandemic. 2020 started with celebration, laughter, gathering, partying, sleepovers, playdates, concerts, movie theaters. One kind of normalcy. But in New York, since last spring, we found ourselves in isolation, separation, and lockdown. Samantha Rodriguez, a high school senior in Brooklyn, describes her year as a whirlwind. Definitely nothing anyone could have predicted. She reflects on last year. I just feel extinguished. In the midst of the chaos and uncertainty, Rodriguez had to go through the college application process. Deadlines were up in the air, constantly moving and shifting. Schools weren't even sure what was happening, she says. Other residents faced different challenges. Amanda, a Girls Right Now mentor who is from New Zealand, has struggles making finances to continue living in the city. At the end of February 2021, she plans on returning to New Zealand because she is unable to stay here when there is no work. I am really struggling with living off New Zealand money. Every time I bring over $1 from New Zealand, I lose 40 cents. And it's just not making sense anymore, she explains. It deeply disappoints her because she loves being in New York. Even so, as a visual artist, Smith has been able to continue doing the things that she loves, creating art through the pandemic. Smith admits, I'm pretty impressed with myself that I've managed to maintain what I'm doing, even though at points it felt pretty hard. Although we have all struggled collectively in different ways, some have found new methods to cope and adapt to this new lifestyle. The pandemic is not over yet, but the world still moves on, and the other side is still waiting for us. Hang in there, as better times are ahead.
Hi, my name is Catherine Santino, and I'm so honored to introduce my mentee, Pilar Lujeda. This year, Pilar embarked on writing a novel, and I could not be more proud to see how she's progressed both as a writer and a young woman. She is always filled with such amazing ideas and concepts, and the eloquent writing that she brings to our sessions just continues to astound me. I'm so glad we got to work on this project together this year, and I'm so excited to share a portion of it with the Girls Right Now community today.
Hi, I'm Pilar, and I'll be reading an excerpt from Chapter 4 of a book I've been working on. My mentor and I wrote this together, and it's the product of many months of planning and research. In this section, our two main characters, Winifred and Bernie, are departing from their train and have to run separate errands around the city of Manchester. Winifred is working towards finding her distant sister and hopes to receive help from an old friend, Luella. Bernie must pick up a reserved book from a library which he believes holds clues to the scandal of his late father's will. Chapter 4. Part of me didn't want to part ways. The thought of going to Luella's alone now seemed daunting. I had maps in my journal and her letters, but something made it seem scarier than I was willing to admit out loud. We stopped just behind the archway and off to the left to avoid the commotion of exiting passengers. I pulled out a railroad map that I'd taken from the school library, trying to balance it in its half-unfolded state while closing the unruly carpet bag and snapping the clasp closed. Bernie looked over my shoulder. Myrtle and Union? Yes, my friend's family owns a dressmaking shop there, and that was the address they last used. Why? He traced over the map next to the penciled circle around the corner of Myrtle and Union and a few blocks over and stopped over the wavering blue line. River Irwell. My father took me to the riverfront as a boy. We used to have picnics there while my brothers were at school. It also happens to run right next to the library, see? He pointed once again at the map, this time stopping over the fine print that read Chetham's Library, established 1853. He turned towards the doorway. We can go together. I twisted to my side to fit out the grand doors as people were still all around us and there was little space to be had. I half skipped to reach him before walking in stride with him. What makes you think I don't want to go alone? Oh, do you want to go alone? I think I could manage. That does not answer my question. Do you know how to get there? I haven't been before, but I used to pick up sweets for my sister on Myrtle. It should only be 2 blocks west. Lead the way, then. I realized he must have been doing that since we stepped out of the station, because I was still a step or two behind him, following without questioning. Carriages rambled by as we ambled on, each block looking more or less the same. The road was divided into lanes, but quick and chaotic. I opted to walk on the inner side of the street, away from the foul-smelling puddles and whirling metal rims of wagons. When I realized we had been going on for quite some time, I asked, "How much longer do you think?" 30 minutes to the shop maybe, but 10 to the library. Thank you.
Jaya creates intricate, thoughtful poems, soundscapes, original songs, digital media, and is not afraid to experiment. This is our second year together, and I'm continually inspired by Jaya's curiosity and willingness to dive into uncharted waters. She's always unmuted. My name is Amanda Eckery, and it's my pleasure to introduce you to Jaya Rao Harrell.
My piece began as a late-night stream of consciousness around the feeling of regret and the pull between this and other feelings we often turn to drown it out. Emotion through an abstract lens, this is my poem, Vacant Heavy. Regret is a steady tap on my mind, a solid block of all things entwined. Blinded as sun seeps beneath beds of flowers, blotting visions, staining walks, my shadow over every hour. Regret is the steam that sticks to bathroom mirrors, diffuses off my tongue in a rapid sea of vapors. Small swirls of dragonflies skim over the air. Reflections dance in warm hushed lakes as foxes trot with care. Regret is falling through pools of elation, jumping to passion that later falls to contemplation. Outside a window, the soft patter of snow. Steam drifts into air, lit by the sun's soft glow. But I'm still brought back to regret, the constant thought of our secret journal, long since blacked out, but forever eternal. Sleepy stars hang in the glow of night, a cool soft breeze wiping out light. Heavy eyes shut under the warmth of thick quilts, as the moon rises and the sun wilts. Regret is what blooms into a field of release when its weight leaves your mind, met with transient ease. A hammock rocks with gentle sways, a pendulum swings and carries the weight away. But the vacant heavy still remains. It's the ray of regret that will never decay.
Hey folks, my name is Kelsey Weekman and my mentee is Althea Collier. Every moment I've spent with her this semester has been colored with this creativity and charisma. She turns the mundane into something beautiful every time. She's reminded me, as a professional writer, that this craft we share is legitimately an art form, something wonderful that should be celebrated. I'm thrilled to get to hear from her now.
This piece is called Spring Sunday, and it's a piece about a community garden in my neighborhood that was turned into an apartment building. It is Spring Sunday. I have pulled on my white dress and tied it with my favorite blue ribbon, tights and pinching shoes, but I cannot wait for later. Later, I go to the garden. At 2 o'clock, I run to find my dad. He grabs my hand and I skip along beside him. Corner, man, nod, gate, lock, key, grass, this is our garden. Tucked between 2 old buildings, my family and community have tended it since I was born, and I will tend it today. Thrilled eyes wide open, I toss my tights and shoes into the grass and run across the little lawn, under the arch of spindly vines. In the back, Empty plots are waiting for the energy that spring brings. My brother, who is running behind us, has brought bags of mulch and manure. I roll up my sleeves in my Sunday white and dig my hands into the dirt. Turning, pulling, pushing, my little hands bring the old, hard earth to grow between my fingers. New sun beating on my back, I can feel the warmth of life come back to the dirt. In my white dress, I am rooted in the earth. Soon, corn, tomato, squash, basil, cucumber, and strawberry will find their place next to mine. It is summer Sunday. Embe parts the thick, warm vines and hands me a prized, juicy, plump tomato. I hold it in my hands, loving, eager, under the shade of the 6-foot-tall corn. Its juice runs down my chin, beautiful, tart, and sweet. We are all gathered here today. I cut my treat between my hands and peer out from the vines at the family and friends gathered on the grass. Barbecue and ice cream in their mouths, the garden in their hearts. The girls and boys whose smiles have brought me here, the hands of those who have lifted me up day after day. Returning to my tomato, I smile. It is fall Sunday. I pull roots and pick squash for Mom. The vine archway is turning rusty orange. The strawberries are gone. Dead tomato vines piled in my small arms. The garden goes back to sleep. My father stows away shovels and bags of dirt as I lay in the grass. Until next spring, I whisper. It is winter Sunday. It has snowed so much that my short legs are engulfed by a wave of pure sparkling white. Joy hidden under my scarf. I throw the first. My brother the second. Clyde the third. We fall and run and throw until our fingers are red and sore and our faces are wet and frozen. As my father locks the gate behind us, I remember spring is almost here. It is spring Sunday. Corner mad, not gate lock key. Grass, this is not our garden. Tucked between two old buildings, our garden is gone. Sold years ago, nothing grows here anymore. Instead, there's a concrete tower, hard, cold. No more am I rooted in earth. Juicy tomatoes, vines, and grass. My garden is gone forever, living only in the whispers of old memories in my heart.
Hi everyone, my name is Claire and tonight I'm excited to be introducing my mentee Willow. Willow and I started working together last fall, and over the past few months I've had the opportunity to watch her pursue her interests in journalism, activism, and social justice through Girls Right Now. Tonight she'll read from an opinion piece that she wrote that gave her an opportunity to hone her interviewing, reporting, and research skills.
Hi, my name is Willow Locke and I'm a current mentee in the Girls Right Now writing program. So my topic is systemic racism in the criminal justice system, and me and my mentor Claire started off each session with a creative writing prompt, and we talked about what topic I wanted to do, and we landed on this one. So I conducted an interview and used that to write my piece.
In the 1700s and 1800s, due to the fear that slaves in the South would rebel against their masters, slave patrols were formed to catch runaway slaves and make sure slaves were doing what they were told. We see time and time again Black people being disproportionately targeted by police officers and then again in jails. Considering the history of the prison system, this really isn't all that surprising. According to a study conducted in 2017 by the Pew Research Center, while Black people made up only 12% of the adult population, they made up 36% of America's prison population as a whole. The racist history of law enforcement has threatening implications on real people of color's lives. Looking beyond the statistics so we can understand the impacts of racial disparity in prisons, we must hear from the people who have experienced it firsthand. I will bring you along as we take a closer look into the life of former inmate Peter Roman. Peter grew up attending what he described as an overcrowded public school in New York, where he received his early childhood education. Throughout his childhood, he had family and friends who were incarcerated. While describing his relationship with law enforcement previous to being incarcerated, as well as during the time he was in prison, he said, "I've never seen police officers as friends or allies." He graduated high school, as well as receiving 2 additional years of graduate education, before being charged with attempted murder at the age of 20. Peter was in jail from ages 20 to 30, missing out on a significant part of his early adulthood. During Peter's time in prison, he describes the relationships between incarcerated people and prison guards as if they were 2 teams, one being the police and one being those punished by them, telling me it was really like war. It is often debated what needs to happen in order to make for a more effective quote-unquote justice system. Here's my answer. A system that was literally founded on the oppression of Black people cannot also be used to protect them. For a system to truly be just, the foundation must be built on mutual aid, equity, and justice. The current system is not broken. It was meant to work this way, and the only way to stop it is to take it down entirely.
Hi, I'm Angelica Puzio, and I'm here to introduce my amazing mentee, Amina Castronovo. We've been working together for 2 years, and we couldn't be a better match. Two queer young women navigating the world in boisterous Italian families as we spill the tea to each other each week.
This year, we've been exploring topics as a pair that are often taboo for young women, like sex and masturbation. For our pair piece, we made a podcast called Everyone's a Little Bit Gay, where we talk about how to bring feminism into our sex lives and make it intersectional. We hope you enjoy this excerpt from my solo piece, where I break down the taboos of teenage sex. In 7th grade, I found myself standing in line at a Duane Reade to buy condoms with Vladimir, a scrawny Russian 12-year-old who constantly talked about sex. The following is an excerpt from my experience and thought process on teenage sexuality and experience during that movement, originally published as On the Intersection Between Teenage Sexuality and the Objectivity of Women Across Races. As we stood in line, I never wanted to crawl into a hole more in my life. I kept shifting my backpack between my shoulders, and I could practically hear my owl-themed pencil case screeching at me through the fabric. The man standing behind us seemed to be piercing me my lack of virginity with his eyes, as if he was the conservative messiah, there to tear down the open for business sign hanging on a string from my vagina. Of course, as we waited, Vlad picked up some Skittles from the counter because nothing says I'm an awkward little guy who's going to bang this depressed bisexual, quite like a plastic bag full of rainbow-colored crap. I waited anxiously for the cashier to say something as she rang us up. We were 12 years old, for God's sakes. But no. She looked us straight in the eyes and asked if we were paying cash or card. A receipt had never printed for so long before. If adolescents were taught to take ownership of their sexuality, perhaps there would be less conformity into racist and sexist stereotypes. Black and white women are human, and thus they have the inherent right to express themselves sexually however they see fit. This expression can be passionate and overwhelming, or timid and slow, or anything in between. That should be the first lesson students learn in sex ed. Let's stop pretending that teens are not privy to one of the most wonderful aspects of life. We're teenagers. Experiencing life is what we do. Teenagers are going to have sex. They're going to masturbate. They're going to go condom shopping because they can, and that's good. So to all the teens out there, find your something. It could be a Vladimir, an object, a book, or a website, something that replaces shame with exploration. You don't have to do anything. Just observe the way your body reacts to the liberation of sex. Looking back now, perhaps all he wanted to do was put on a show for me, but I'm glad I watched. My experience with him taught me one of the most valuable lessons for a young woman to absorb. There's nothing wrong wanting to feel another person or yourself. Vlad taught me that, and I hope that wherever he is, he's making himself very happy. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Caroline Fulford, and I'm very pleased to introduce my mentee, Kiara McClarty. Though I have yet to meet her in person, my mentee Kiara brings such an energy and openness to our remote pair sessions that I hardly feel the lack of face-to-face connection. She sees her world with a bright and perceptive eagerness to which I can only aspire. Please enjoy her poem, Once Upon a Very Dirty Borough.
Hi, my name is Kiara McClarty. I'm 16 years old and I live in the Bronx. As you'll find out in my poem, Once Upon a Dirty Borough, where the princess of New York struggles to find her voice as she comes into her inheritance. Thank you. Once upon a very dirty borough, and upon a not-so-quiet neighborhood, and upon a deafening rhythmic reggae household, lay a forgotten princess trapped in a castle. This princess, not like the others, had a curse bestowed upon her. This curse was passed on from generation to generation, and for if she didn't break this curse, she would not be able to seize her throne. For this curse prevented her from speaking. Her vocal cords would rattle and she would grip her tiara to push the words out, clearly unable to rule her kingdom according to the peasants. Complaints after complaints pervaded the town. They sought a new monarch after the death of the king 4 months ago. They needed a leader and they needed one now, leaving the princess feeling trapped, for she was the king's only heir, causing her to stay in her tower to avoid the verbal harassment. She knew she could be a great leader for the kingdom. She breathed through the aroma of taco and halal trucks. She walked on the beat of the music of the streets. She understood the dirt under the fingernails. But what could she do with no one giving her the chance to speak? How do you speak for the oppressed when you're oppressed yourself? How do you empower the powerless without a voice? After days of contemplation, she sought advice from her royal advisor, her mother who understood this curse more than anyone. her mother who herself had a stutter she was able to overcome due to the love she had for the city. Her mother advised her to imagine what her father would have wanted and left the princess alone to ponder. This princess laid restless in her ghost fortress and thought about what was stopping her. This curse passed on from generation to generation. It was not a curse, but indeed a blessing. She held not only the right to speak, but the power to change the world, the power to make her kingdom a better place, and the power to do so with her voice. Once trapped in her castle, she now breaks free and reigns the day.
Wow, once again, such amazing pieces, such well thought out pieces. I'm pretty sure there was everything from baked goods to the prison and criminal justice system. It's such broad topics. Is really, really inspiring.
Agree. And topics and formats. I love the podcast. I love all the poetry. I love the visuals. Just fantastic, guys. And also definitely delved into some more intense topics and some of the difficulties of living through a global pandemic. So along those lines, to acknowledge those events of the last year now, we'd like to invite all of you to join us for a moment of silence to honor the victims and those affected by racial injustice in this country and the COVID-19 pandemic.
Thank you. There are also times to get loud, like when you're speaking up for what's right or when you're showing your gratitude. So please join us in thanking all of our essential workers and fierce advocates for justice. Yay! To keep the love going, let's hear it for tonight's performers. What incredible work!
And as we start to bring our performers up onto the stage, we wanted to take a moment to thank all of you for joining us tonight. We're so grateful to our generous Agent of Change partners, our Girls Right Now Circle, our dedicated board of directors, and our amazing staff, our talented mentors and mentees, and all of you who joined us tonight.
If you'd like to support more amazing work like this, you can make a donation at girlsrightnow.org/give. All caps, give, it's all caps. Or join the circle at girlsrightnow.org/all caps circle.
And if you want some more Girls Right Now in your life, you can join us again soon at our Friday Night Salon series. Next week, we'll be writing poetry with spoken word poet and author of Black Girl Call Home, Jasmine Mans. And the next Girls Right Now live is on Friday, April 9th at 6 p.m. With Caitlin Greenidge, author of Liberty and Girls Right Now mentor alum. And got tons of other amazing upcoming events that are always listed on our website, girlsrightnow.org.
So now we'll take a moment to invite performing mentees and mentors to unmute themselves and join us as panelists to chat about their writing and beyond. You still have some time to get your questions into the Q&A feature.
Well, you guys might need to be adding things to Q&A. We can start with a question. How did you find the inspiration to unmute yourselves in the work you shared tonight? There's a lot of grappling with some pretty tricky topics, so I would love to hear from anybody who's had performed tonight.
It's me, the voice of Girls Right Now. Don't be shy. Feel free to unmute yourselves. Even if it's just a very casual thing to share, we'd love to hear from you about the work.
I just wanted to say thank you to the Girls Right Now staff for putting this together. It's a nice way to spend a Friday. And also thanks to our awesome hosts. I loved watching your chemistry. It was really fun.
Thank you. Thank you. So again, for our panelists, we'd love to hear, how did you find the inspiration to unmute yourselves in the work you shared tonight?
Also totally okay if it's been a long week. At that point, I feel like we can just, like, as we see each other, give a huge round of applause to everyone here. Like, all the work that went into this. You are incredible. And we're not going to force you to talk, so thank you all so much. Thank you. Let's have another round of applause for our MCs. Yes, that dance party. All right, and unless anyone has any questions they would like to ask or like to share, I think we can wave on out. Yeah.
Good. Thank you again to our performer pairs for sharing your stories, and excited to see what you guys come up with next and all the amazing work you're going to do in the future.
Good night. Take care, and we hope to see you again soon.
Good night.
Bye.